Welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live stream debate Wednesday, Tuesday, June 18th. I'll start off with the recognition that June is Seniors Month, Pride Month, and National Indigenous Month. Council will be recessing for the month of July. Then acknowledge that this sacred land on which the township of Montague is now located, and this meeting is being held, is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. We'll have another response, please. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Crabtree. The regular meeting of council agenda dated June 18th, 2024 be approved as amended this date. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of interest now at any time during the meeting. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson that the minutes of the previous meeting dated June 4th, 2024 be approved as presented. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from our previous meeting? So we have a delegation this evening. Sarah Craig.
Thank you for having me today to talk about your asset management plan. I've had the pleasure of working with staff over the last year to develop the plan and work on the program. And today, what I'd like to start with is going over a little bit of background on the regulation and then focusing in on the 2024 plan, highlights of the report, and then go into some questions. The regulation, the Jobs and Prosperity Act, was brought in 2015, and the provincial government introduced the 588 Asset Management Regulation in 2017. And the regulation requires that all municipalities in Ontario have a strategic asset management policy as well as an asset management plan. And there are varying plans that were required, one in 22, one in 24, and another one in 25, varying complexity. The requirements of the asset management plan today for 2024 meet all of the requirements for 22 and for 24. And what it includes is the state of your infrastructure, all of your infrastructure assets, current levels of service for all of your assets, and life cycle costs that are associated with your levels of service, as well as a description of the impacts of growth on your infrastructure. In terms of your asset management plan, it includes core and non-core assets. The asset categories include roads, bridges and culverts, water distribution, sanitary collection, vehicles and equipment, as well as buildings. Your asset management plan is a great communication tool for internal staff as well as externally. It describes how you manage your assets, what your strategies are, and it includes your financial strategy as well, how you're funding your infrastructure on a long-term basis. Your current replacement cost value of all of your assets in this plan are $91 million. Of that, $70.8 million are road network assets. That being your largest infrastructure category. 77% of the township's infrastructure portfolio is in fair or better condition. The overall average of your assets is good, or 64%. This chart just shows a breakdown of each asset category, and the condition breakdown from very poor, which is red, to very good, which is green. 81% of all of your infrastructure has been condition assessed or field assessed. Condition assessments are really important for being able to demonstrate the actual deterioration of your assets and your overall condition. So it makes for a much better projection going forward. Your current annual requirement is $1.7 million. This graph just shows the forecasted requirements of all of your infrastructure categories and in 5-year buckets. And you can see that it definitely varies year over year, but the average heading out to 2132 is $1.7 million. There's also an infrastructure backlog identified at $2.3 million. And those are assets that are still in service beyond their service life. They're not necessarily assets that require immediate replacement. They're ones that you've chosen to not replace on its regular service life. A good example is a vehicle that has low kilometers. There's no need to replace it exactly at 10 years if the usage is so low. So in terms of levels of service and your current levels of service, asset management and levels of service is a balancing act between costs, performance, or condition of your assets, and the risk that the municipality is willing to accept. And working through your levels of service and your current levels of service, we will examine that balance right now, and for 2025 we'll be looking to make proposed levels of service in order to better align with your financial capabilities, your desired levels of service, and your residents' expectations for service. Funding needs and challenges. PSC Citywide is part of undergoing a benchmarking initiative to look at Ontario municipalities and sort of provide some comparators on how everyone's doing, because well, it's always the question that everyone asks, well, how are we doing? And from the perspective of funding their annual requirements, municipalities on average are only funding 44%. The township of Montague is funding 56% of their annual requirement. The current target reinvestment rate, based on the life expectancy of your infrastructure and your replacement cost, is 1.87% compared to the average of 2.1. But the current reinvestment rate is sitting at 1% of the 1.87%, which is very much in line, if not better than the average municipality in Ontario. Having a short phase-in period to meet those targets. When we're talking funding all of your infrastructure programs, increasing your tax revenue to the degree of $1.7 million a year, phasing that over a really short period of time will cause a significant burden on your taxpayers, but delaying it and phasing it over more than 20 years is going to have a continued effect on your infrastructure, where you won't be able to replace the infrastructure when you need to, when it fails. But like I said before, the 2025 requirements will allow you to make changes to better reflect your municipality and your service levels in order to reach that sustainable funding level. So that when you have an infrastructure project or a replacement, you'll have the funding available to do that when you need to. In terms of key takeaways, your asset management plan is compliant to the 2024 asset management regulation, but there is still lots of work to do to meet the 2025 requirements. This plan is a snapshot in time. It is based on the current data available. It is a work in progress. It will continue to get better as your data improves, as your processes become more aligned from operations to finance. One of the major things would be that staff should continue working towards managing all of the data in a centralized location, and developing those internal procedures to continue to align your financial information with your operations. Next steps, continue data improvement and develop your proposed levels of service for 2025, which involves engaging staff and the public to determine those proposed levels and identifying life cycle and financial planning to meet those proposals. Questions?
Just to go back to, I just want to make sure I understand something. The asset condition slide, the greens and blues, it's not, are those, but those numbers are not to our township numbers. Is that different than what's in the asset management plan? I'm trying to understand, like 201 million, 387 million, 604. Like we don't have, it's not the cost of our road. I'm trying to understand that slide.
I think that's the wrong slide.
Yeah.
The total replacement cost is 91 million.
The one in the asset management plan is different. Okay, so, okay. Which is fine. The one in the asset management was like it's
Go off the AM.
Yeah.
which is cool. Okay, that sounds good.
Sorry.
No, it's good. The asset management was got to be most important as well. So it's the road side that's saying 70.8 million. I'm just curious of how we got to what that value is. Like we have we know how much roads we have with 100 kilometers, but it being like paved, is there an assessed value to paved roads to gravel roads? Is that just basically the basic way of how that looks? Okay. What's an assessed value of a paved road per kilometer, and an assessed value of of a and does it make difference if it's a paved road into a surface treated road? Or do they just mix into?
No, we have a unit cost for asphalt and surface treatment and
The number I thought we had is fine. Yeah. That's how it kind of breaks down as far as, and that would equate to the 70.8.
and it includes street.
So, and here to you for that. So, yeah, Sarah did use our most recent pricing that we've received in relation to tenders for asphalt and surface treatment to make it the most realistic that we could for the pricing in this area as well. So whenever she's saying the pricing for asphalt, and surface treatment is based off of what we have received recently.
And when we talk about this, is this about like, if I'm rebuilding the roads, that it was basically from the bush, or am I rebuilding the road from just to bring it back up to a spec? Like when we talk about that value,
It's a full replacement, so it would be digging it down to dirt and replacing the whole thing.
okay, so it's replacing that road specifically, the way it's already there, but just replacing it.
Yeah.
Okay,
But there are, strategies in place that, like, just resurfacing, they're not included in the 70.8, but in the overall annual requirement, that's based on not full replacement. It includes actual, life cycle activities.
you made a comment about we're $2.3 million behind on assets that could be like older vehicles. Is that, when you talk about that, is that just the core, or is the non-core stuff? Because like, I'm thinking about vehicles and like, we've done a pretty good job of replacing value of our plow trucks and our work trucks and everything else. So I'm just trying to figure out what like $2 point some million what that breaks down to. I don't think we had that many vehicles, that kind of stuff that passed through.
It's your full, portfolio, so it's not just vehicles.
So it could be-
My example was just for vehicles.
All, but not roads,
Like the
just,
excavator,
okay.
that they should have a 15-year life cycle, but it's older.
And we'll
Right,
continue.
so-
That's an example.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We have
there's a fire.
Fire truck is older, like the
in
equipment
there
van.
too.
And then some are bridges and culverts, but they far exceeded their life cycle, but the OSIM was okay, right?
So bridges and culverts are part of it.
That
I wasn't
is
sure
part
it
of
was
it.
part of the roads. Okay, so
No,
it is.
so
part of
bridges,
it.
it's mostly that portion makes up bridges and culverts and some.
Mhm.
And when you talk about the 1.7, but the $1.7 million sort of average, I guess, like, I mean, we're looking at an average over the next, you said 100 years. Is there like an inflationary number there? Because I mean, $1.7 million now and $1.7 million from in 100 years from now, I'm assuming it's going to be quite different. So
This is just in today's.
in today's dollars, and then we got to go from there. That's that looks like, okay. So it's not the average, it's today's dollars. But my only last comment would be like, I remember learning from Good Roads too as well, like, what this is kind of snapshot, all municipalities are like so behind. I think the model from Good Roads is like, we're screwed and we don't know what to do. Like, we try to figure it as best as we can, but it is kind of nice to know that, I mean, the average is 44. We're trying our best to kind of maintain it a little bit higher, but it doesn't seem like anybody's in the 80% value or anything. So,
No, I haven't come across the municipality yet that is in the 80th percentile for annual requirements. But I think that this next phase of the regulation is going to be really helpful in better defining what you intend to afford and your levels of service. So that 1.7 million is based on the life expectancies that you've identified in the system. And so it isn't necessarily maintaining a condition of your asset. Where in the next phase, we can look at asset condition and what it would cost to maintain a certain condition, whether that's a lower value or a higher value, or the same value that you have right now, which will impact that 1.7 million. Like, the next phase will make it ideally more affordable or more reflective of your expectations and requirements.
And hopefully helps us, like, all municipalities are really pretty much looking at what the province wants. It's like, to kind of show, here's an outside snapshot of what it looks like. This is where we need more funding come in. Like, so, okay, thank you. I think that, I think the plan, I think it's great. I'm sure staff, seeing working with staff was great. And that's fantastic. So I think we get this like great snapshot, and this is great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Chair, I just want to thank Sarah for all the work that she put in on this, and for staff for working with Sarah. I think we have a good document, and we're going to continue to work towards our 2025.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So as per the presentation that you just saw this evening, we do have requirements under Regulation 817 to meet certain dates with our asset management plan, with the most current being July 1st of 2024. That's why it's in front of council this evening, to be approved with the caveat, though, that we're still continuing to work towards our 2025 with PSD, and the 2025 requirements are the ones that we're going to have a public survey, public consultation. This is just for our current levels of service. We'll be working towards what are projected or what we may like to work towards, or what the rates are looking for based on some numbers as well, right? So this is to meet the July 1. By passing it, will ensure that we don't miss out on any kind of funding, because we have to have these things in place and we have to provide them on an annual basis. And then we'll continue to work on 2025, which will include, and we're going to have it in our messenger, either the survey and or direction to go to the survey. We're going to have surveys here for when people are coming in paying their August installments. We're going to set up a public date and meeting to get feedback. Really, we would like to get as much feedback for our asset management plan as possible from the ratepayers, because it is the direction of what are the expectations. So it's very, very important to have that. So we're going to try and hit as many people with the survey as we can. But this evening, I am recommending that council approve the asset management plan with caveat knowing that we are still working towards it.
So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll, that council approve the asset management plan presented June 14th, 2024 as the plan to meet the July 1, 2024 OREG 588-17 requirements, and that council directs staff to continue to work toward the 2025 requirements, which will set out a proposed level of service, including public comment and feedback and a public meeting. All in favor? Next is our public works manager on our 22-acre lot initiative.
So, 2023, council approved the budget for 2024 for 22 acres, and I've just got pricing for starting with what was approved last year with the parking lot, volleyball courts, and the entrance. So the recommendation from staff is that the lowest quote for the work be awarded to, which is for Tackway Construction. And that we start as soon as possible, and as soon as they're done, come back with another report to the next next step in the project. And also, we need to move forward with coming up with a name for the 22 acres.
23 acres is really going on me.
Yeah. So, yeah, the proposed site plan, which I think is attached. Did I include it? Is that- no. Well, I will revert it next time. So it's starting with a parking lot that should hold about 40 to 45 vehicles and, building the beach volleyball courts with subdrain. And building the entrance. And yeah, so stockpiling all the material from the entrance and the volleyball courts can be stockpiled to be shaped later to go towards the sliding hill. Bring in some other material from other places. We still need to clear out some brush that's in the way of where the sliding hill will go, but yeah. So as I said, I received quotes from Campbell's, Arnott's, and Tackberry Construction, and Tackberry came in with a low bid, $62,692, which leaves us with budget we're working with for $37,000 to go towards the next stage of the work. So that would be the sledding hill and clearing trails. And that's the other thing, the Jerry Lowe Memorial Committee has agreed to provide the volleyball nets. So we'll be ordering those soon, and hopefully we'll be put up right as soon as the volleyball courts are ready to be used. Yeah, so moving forward with the name. So for coming up with a name for I think we were talking about potentially the idea of having a public contest to vote on a name from members of the public, or for council to choose a name. Another option would be to come up with, just give it a name like Melody Park. But yeah, or if anyone has any ideas for any other options, that would be. So that's pretty much where we stand. Hopefully, it's too much.
Yes, question?
On the, with the three tackleberries.
Yeah.
They're all three groups, how come there's $20,000 difference between the lowest one and the other two?
Did you see anything that stood out? Usually when you have three competent,
Yeah,
like $20,000 is a lot of money.
yeah, I'm not sure.
Are you getting
Tackberry-
everything?
Arnottson and Campbell's both bid based on itemized, like they gave me rates for everything, and Tackberry just gave us a lump sum, so maybe they wanted to be a little more. Maybe they're thinking, I'm not sure exactly why they're so
But they're giving us the same,
such a range. Yeah,
What you asked for.
Yeah.
That's in the.
Yeah.
Okay.
so no, I'm not sure why it was so much. I know Arnott's obviously they're coming from further away, so that's kind of why I thought maybe more. But
So when you do this, you said you went out and got prices. Is it a tender system or?
no, well, just for that, just because I didn't expect it to be 80,000. So for the procurement policy, we can go up to 75,000. We'll just get informal
Three written
quotes. Yeah. So
So it was expected that it would come in under the 75.
Yeah.
So our procurement policy is we can get three written quotes for anything under 75.
Okay.
So the one did come in obviously at the 62, and the other two, to be honest, seem high for the project work that we're doing. So by all means, if council wants us to go to a formal process because of getting two over 75, we can, but keep in mind that they've now seen the pricing of everybody else and everything's probably under 75.
Yeah, I know it's too late.
I just,
I was just wondering what the procurement policy was. Wasn't 75K. So you have basically, being new to this, you guys have a decision tree that allows you to decide to go to tender, and it's
Right.
all based on dollars, not time or anything.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, staff would sit down and come up with a rough estimate of what they think it's going to be, and our rough estimate would be under 75. obviously the one came in under 75, the other two were slightly over. So that's why we went with the 3 written quotes in relation to that work.
So just one more question then. When you do that, did you reach out to 3 different people or did you put something out that?
For 3 informal quotes, I just reached out to the 2 obvious choices, Hackberry and Campbell's are the closest, so, and then the Arts was just another one I thought might be have the time to do it quickly, basically.
Okay.
Chair through you, I just want to make a note that we also had a donation of the Crime Stopper bench this year, which is great. We will have to put in a concrete pad. They donated a lovely bench, which is really, really nice. And then keeping in mind that we have a large stockpile of mulch still, not even the portion that we're giving away, we still have another big, that potentially we will be bringing over, once the walking trails go through, to potentially lay on the walking trails and things like that. But we do have a lot of prickly ash to deal with over
Yeah.
there. So we will be bringing in a piece of equipment that will basically mulch and dethatch and do all of that at once. Because we have a lot of issues. We also, had the county in to take a look at the property to come up with some mitigation or some plans as far as pollinator gardens in some of the areas, bringing in maybe some local species to help shade out some of that prickly ash once it's gone by planting certain species. So we're also trying to work with them in relation to that kind of thing as well. So they've been really good at, really they gave us a whole plan.
Yeah.
For what we could do, which is great.
And avoiding any spreading of invasive species, because there is some parts of along the roadside we'll have to deal with.
Elizabeth?
Elizabeth and Michelle.
It was both. So it's great. So it's really trying to bring everyone together, and they're just as excited as we are, I think, about the 22 acres and with it being right next to the school as well. So what the potential is there. So basically based on the EIS that we got, the walking trail area probably won't be started until August at some time. And getting there, it will not be prepared for the spring or for this fall, because we want to wait till the spring to see where the water areas are to then build the boardwalks that are going to be required. But they'll be able to be used all winter.
I think this is great. We're moving forward with that too as well. And then it looks like we have good pricing right out of the gates from Hackberry, which is nice. On the one note about the naming thing, I'm almost in favor right now of just basically blankly, maybe, I know Jeff's very fond of the 22 acre name, but maybe it's like just calling it the Montague Park to sort of give it an area where it is. Because I feel like if we can give it a name, another name out of the gates, people are going to be, it's just like, where is this park? And maybe just start with Montague Park as we're building it. And then when we have stuff there, then we can kind of go out and say, hey, maybe there's an opportunity for an outside company that wants some sort of naming rights, or we go into a public consultation. So right now, I think it's just so people understand what this new park is and where it is, and it's in Montague. I think that'd be the sort of perspective.
It makes us not so
So I mean, I'm sort of in agreement. The only thing that I automatically go to is if you just say Montague Park, it's like, where specifically. So even if you incorporate the Montague 22 acre park, something along those lines, so that people can be talked about the 22 acres for so long, people will still know then where they're referring to. That's the only thing.
I really thought that was
It's generic for now.
like Rosedale as well, because then you could say, but yeah, you're saying.
Yeah. Because it just for temporary, not to truly name it, just
Yeah.
so people do understand. But yeah.
So my question is just, do we have consensus then to, for right now, do the Montague 22 acre park? So that we can get signage and things like that installed as well, or would we like to look at the other options?
You really want to put there's a sign.
Well, that's where it was like just, I was like the 100 acre woods with Winnie the Pooh.
There you go. Yeah.
Put a little link.
Yeah,
Little wooden jar of honey.
it's up to council. I just,
I think once again, this is a temporary name, just to put the, give it the next step to say like, you know, like, you just call it 22 acres, people are gonna say, where's the 22 acres? Like, where's it, is it single family, where is it, so it's like.
I think the Montague with the 22 acres sounds, because some people have already referred to it to me as the Montague School Park. So if you can differentiate from that, it'll be incorporated as part of this.
We're good with Montague 22 Acre Park?
Okay.
Keep Joe happy.
So moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council approve the quotation from GTAC Berry and Sons Construction Company Limited in the amount of $62,682.20, inclusive of non-refundable HST, and that the chosen contractor be approved to begin immediately, and that staff will bring back the report on the additional work to be completed, and further, the council provide direction on naming the outdoor space. All in favor?
I also think it's great that we don't have to tell people how big it is. 22 acres.
Our next report is from our public works manager again regarding the surplus operation public works equipment.
Okay, so this report, as stated, is about some surplus equipment. The recommendation is that all the listed surplus equipment, which includes the public works garage generator, an old grader wing, a dump truck screen, 3-point pitch sickle mower, a wagon seeder, brush mower, and a grader push blade, and a disc retriever that will go on the grader. All be listed as surplus, and the items be listed for sale on GovDeals. So we had the public works garage generator fuel tank was flagged that it would be filled again, so we had discussed listing that as surplus and listing it for sale. And then when we were going through some other things, there's a number of things that we had to go that we can get rid of that aren't used anymore. The generator not only will not be filled again, but it also is not hooked up to the building anymore since we have a new last month. So it was purchased from the Smith Falls Hospital for approximately $10,000, and hopefully we can get most of that back, ideally. The grader wing is from a grader that we used to have, and it's not compatible with any of either of our current graders. The truck screen was just a standard option on a truck that was never used. Sickle mower, the wagon seeder, the brush hog are all attachments for a tractor that we no longer have. And the disc retriever was purchased in 2019, and it never really worked out as we had hoped. The idea was it would pull gravel back on the road that was pushed off from some plowing operations, but it just pulls a lot of organic material back on the road. That's not worth the bringing that material back into the road base. So, recommendation would be to deem all these as surplus, and then we list them on GovDeals. They're all market-sided.
But the only one I'm disappointed about is the disc retriever, because I remember when we got that in 2019, I'm like, oh, this would be great for, you know.
Yeah.
I guess it really, there's no
Yeah.
place that it's really any
I've never seen it used. We haven't used it since I started, but from what I've heard, it brings a lot of grass. And yeah, so I mean, maybe if the gravel was all sitting on top of it, in a perfect world it might work, but I think that even the videos I've seen of it really looks like it's here's what you know.
Question, is that the thing that was kind of, people were upset about last year because it was taking out chunks of grass?
So Chair, through you, this hasn't been used, I think they used it once or twice, but it was for 2019, and it hasn't been used yet because of it just brings grass back on. Last year, that was just a great.
No, there was yeah. It took grass off, people's lawns and brought it onto the drive.
That was the grader cutting down the side.
It's down to with people that go to the sidewalk, people always seem like it's like that's just as part of the winter maintenance stuff.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, instead of buying something the next time we're going along here, is it possible to rent something or lease it for a month and see if something works out? I don't know if that was $500 or 5,000. I have no idea.
7,000.
Yeah.
7,000, I just was wondering if that's something that
So
would be up to here, to try out sometimes, that's all.
Chair through you, so basically, there is another attachment that we think may be beneficial, but Ian's in discussions with them to actually bring it here and us actually see it work on our roads and in our conditions, prior to ever bringing anything to council.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just a question, so the sycamore, the cedar and all that, and the bush hog, which I'm interested in. It was for a 1976 Ford tractor, so has none of this stuff been used in 10 years?
I don't know when the tractor was sold, but it was sold through Gov Deals, right?
Yeah, more than 10 years
So
ago.
the tractor's been gone for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
In 2013, it was disposed of, it was deemed surplus and gotten rid of. So none of that stuff has been running for 10 years. So I'm sure there would be some belts and bearings and things like that that would need to potentially be addressed. But the biggest thing is that, and as Ian had stated, is that whenever we were talking about the generator and then they came up with all these other, is to clear it out, especially for moving forward with the building, is get these things gone instead of just hanging on to them. Because we don't have the asset for the attachment to go on to. And honestly, the amount that we pay for roadside mowing, we're never, well, maybe not never, but in the near future, we're not going to purchase another tractor and start doing these things ourselves.
I don't think we would use a sickle mower. I don't think that we'd be allowed to use one of those anymore, so.
I'm just, yeah, cause I kinda thought it was mostly junk, to be quite honest with you. It's been sitting there for 10 years.
So it's all sitting out there. And I think that it depends on how handy one person is, but I think that anything could be potentially refurbished. Now, some of the items are like the screen for the truck is brand new, pretty much. So there's things like that, but it will all be put on Gov Deals if deemed surplus this evening. And the generator, we're gonna have to get it unhooked, get it out of the building. So that one will be a little bit more, but
Oh, it's good to move all the stuff along. I was just wondering, when I saw the 10 years.
Is any of this part of, was any of this incorporated in the asset management or was this taken out?
so, Chair through you, most of these things are not even all in the asset management plan, because the tractor was on the asset management plan as the tractor with attachments. I'm not really sure at the time of the surplus of the tractor why everything didn't go fit on our TCAs, or tangible capital assets, so they are not included in the asset management. The generator might have been, but that would be the only thing that will.
But is it the,
And we're adding
the
one.
new one we have? It's gonna be, it's not in our asset management.
Not right now, because that came in just a month ago, it'll be in the new
We have to swap it.
That's right.
Value.
Yeah.
So moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council declared the public works garage generator, grader wing, truck screen, sickle mower, wagon seeder, brush mower, grader, push blade, and disc retriever as surplus, and that all items be listed for sale on Gov Deal. All in favor? That's carried. Next is a report from our administrator treasurer. 2023 surplus.
Thank you, Chair. So at the meeting of June 4th, Council had KPMG present the 2023 financial statements and year-end documents. They did indicate at that time that surplus was just short of the $500,000. So our 2023 surplus is $492,927.59, which we need to allocate because right now it's just sitting in general reserve. So there's a few notes in relation to this, is that we did have a number of reserve usage approval from council through the year of assets that either failed or we had some changes. The additional street lightings, we had a number of them go down. The emergency replacement of the coverall park that ripped and we had to get it covered before the salt got put in there for the winter. Sturgis Road, the emergency culvert replacement that failed. The new half-ton, the drainage at Rosedale Harbor parking lot that was an overage to our Ontario Trillium grant. The fencing at Rosedale that we added some extra, and then the usage on wages, which we didn't use any reserves on any of those. All of them with the exception of wages, we didn't have any overages in wages in relation to that. So, because we've been down a staff person and things like that as well. So the rest was all used without being taken from reserves. So our surplus would have been actually higher than that. But in addition to that, some of the savings or big changes that were budgeted was that our investments that we had obtained substantially better interest rates. So we saw over $279,000 more in interest income because of our investments. Waste disposal contract was under budget. Recycling transition happened, which saw a reduction. We had additional revenue because they paid out the final blue box money that we would receive, that we normally would get 3 payments every year, but we got the whole balance paid to us that had been outstanding. And reduced expenditures there. We obviously had a very mild winter or with limited events and ice and rain. So we had some substantial savings there. Our equipment maintenance was under budget for public works, and that's even after we did some big maintenance to our excavator to get it up because we were under budget. We took advantage of that and did some hydraulic work and some things that really needed to be done on that piece of equipment to extend its life. 40,000 in public works just in various departments throughout. So again, our summer last year, we only had to do 2 roadside cuttings for grass. Normally we budget for 3. There was a number of items there that we just saw savings in. Bylaw enforcement, which we saw about $13,000 in savings. The police services had savings in additional POA offenses. We had the planning department had overall savings or increased income with having a full year with our junior planner on board. Fire department was under budget, and then other small savings throughout all of the departments throughout. So this evening, I am presenting to council a recommendation on reserve allocation for discussion with council. So police and protective services, so we did include, council had approved it earlier on in the year, the 10,000 that's normally budgeted for council for integrity commissioner reserve that had not been being used, that we put it aside into a reserve. So if we need to, we'll use it at that time instead of continuing to tax the ratepayers on something we're not using. So for police services or protection services, I've included the under, so for bylaw that was under budget and for policing that was under budget. So the total is 22.4 to put those aside for future years in case they increase. Water and sewer, we have to allocate their savings, so that is getting the 11,901 is getting put into the operations there. Building and planning reserve, again, put it aside, $8,500. General government was just kind of what got the balance, to be honest, to go towards the municipal complex or working towards that municipal complex in relation to that. So the 33,000 for the new complex, council had already approved that as well for the portion of the surplus to go towards that, to start getting our annual amount that we're putting aside from taxation to pay for a debenture for the new complex once we get the final numbers. Public works equipment replacement, stock portion, public works winter control, again, with the variations in the storms and the weather that we're receiving, we had a very mild winter. We could have a complete opposite winter next year. So it is nice whenever we have savings in that department for those reasons to put some of that aside. In the same sense, the calcium control, we could have a really wet year. We could also have a very, very dry year that we may need some additional calcium applications or working towards changing those levels of service for some of our higher traveled gravel roads. Special projects, so 12,000 was supposed to come out of the reserves for tub grinding. We actually were able to get it completed for a really good price in 2023 that didn't require any reserve usage. So basically just putting that back. The fire department had, again, a small under, so we put that in there. It will help offset the second cost of the fire master plan that you saw in the report earlier this year. So that totals the full amount of the 492,927.59. obviously we are more than open to discussion on allocations. Now, this amount, before year end was done, I had already allocated, so the difference for the rec committee that they had for revenue and expenses, that already went into their reserve. We do all that at year end. It doesn't go into the surplus. Those entries are automatically completed. So all of those departments already saw those changes, and that's why they're in front of you this evening again.
Questions?
It's like, I mean, I think where you're putting it is fine. I mean, there's always a little bit of fluidity to reserves. So where you're putting it is good. I like the planning side of it. You said a sort of a random one that kind of popped in with the planning side of it. Like, say, like we've talked about it for years, but like the industrial park, if we start to do some stuff there as far as trying to maybe better prepare it for actual usage, is that something that would be an idea from that, or are you thinking is that this is more for like different circumstances?
The chair through you. So absolutely, it could be for something like that. I was kind of looking toward the succession planning of the CBO, with it being in the building and planning reserve. So the largest portion of that reserve is from building, which from previous years, not the last few. But kind of working in that succession plan of, we have a CBO who is going to be retiring, and then to bring somebody in and kind of mentor through that. But absolutely, there's always that potential that if viable at the industrial park, if like you're trying to go, there needs to be an EIS or hydro G or something.
Exactly.
That, yeah.
And even if, I mean, and the other one too as well, even at the airport too as well, is we look at like sort of like developmental opportunities there too as well. So like less maybe upfront costing than maybe something like the industrial park, but the same idea, I guess, right? So,
Yeah.
so I like the idea of building up that reserve for obviously the exception planning, which I agree is an important part of it too as well, but also as we look to see what industrial side of things that we maybe attack for. That's I mean, the more we can grow that, this obviously helps with our tax base at the end, right? So, yeah, thank you.
So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson that council approve the 2023 surplus allocations as presented this date. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Ally and staff. And report from Ally on an alternate water operator.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So through you, this is a good news story. So we, as everyone's aware, we do have a small portion of water and wastewater that we own, the capital underground infrastructure, and Smith Falls obviously provides the services in that area. But with that, we have to have a licensed Class 1 operator. We currently have our fire chief / water operator. And one of our public works members is an OIT, so an operator in training, and has been for the last 3 years. In order to write your exam, you have to have 1,800 hours of service, which is very, very difficult for us to get because we don't actually have a plant, we don't actually operate those things. So in order for him to keep the OIT, it's a week of training and then a week of classroom work and a $2,000 fee for the training for something that this individual does not plan on doing, water and wastewater. So staff did reach out to Mr. Hewitt, who has recently retired within the last 6 months from the town of Smith Falls as a Class 2 operator, and to see if there was interest in being an alternate or a backup to our current operator. Obviously, as per the discussion this evening, he is interested, and it is our recommendation for council. It's not a long-term solution. We are working on long-term solutions currently in the background. But for the short term, for the next couple of years at least, if need be, he is happy to do this, and our recommendation is to bring him on. I don't anticipate any issues as far as the 2024 budget goes in relation to this. If anything, actually, we might have less overtime from the chief being able to take time off and not be doing so much.
So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll, the council approved the draft agreement with Vaughan Unit for the services of an alternate water operator for the township of Montague. And the council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw to the June 18th, 2024 meeting. All in favor? And next is a report from Ali on Canada Community Building Fund.
Thank you, Chair. So I just want to kind of stipulate that the only reason we're rushing, not even rushing, but that we're putting some of these through is because we're not meeting again until August. And we need an alternate. Same as this one. So this is an added report this evening. We got an email yesterday in relation to the Canada Community Building Funds, which was the previous federal gas tax program. So AMO, so the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, look after the program and distribute the funds to us lower tier municipalities. And so they have our new 10-year agreement in relation to this. So this is basically in front of the council this evening. They've asked for us to get it done ASAP. We have not received any funding yet to date because they're waiting on this, which only came to us yesterday. So my recommendation to council is to move forward with the 10-year, similar to the previous 10-year bylaw that was passed in 2014, just with the new program. The program still supports towards all of the old items. They are starting to talk about housing though, and there may be some changes coming from that, but AMO will provide all of the information when that time comes. So we did include a chart just for council and for the public to kind of see what our funding allocations have been since 2017 and what we have been providing notice to receive from 2024 to 2028, which is great. It makes it easier for budgeting when we know what we're getting. And yeah, so the recommendation is for us to enter into this agreement and get it off to AMO so that we can get our funds.
Was it just slow with getting this agreement into the municipalities or just?
So Chair, it could be a number of things. It could be the federal side of things. It could be the last one only got signed in May in 2014. So it's about the previous.
Because you think that would have been, I mean, it's not like it was like a 10-year agreement. You think they would have had it 6 months ago? Like, say, get ready, so. But say, well, I mean, it's AMO. AMO is like also like, they're usually, they're
exceptional.
They are. Yeah. They're usually because they're all about making sure the government is not delaying things, so the government, is pushing back against the government. I'm just surprised that it seems like a rush job from AMO, so.
Yeah, and I don't think it's really a rush job from AMO. I think that potentially by the time they came to maybe an agreement or so, like that now they're getting it to us saying, try and get this to us as soon as possible.
So Jim's comment, sort of like the government kind of delaying AMO to get it to us per se, maybe. You could say.
Potentially, I think AMO does great work on our behalf and they really advocate and they do a wonderful job. So I can't speak to the delay. Really, it's only about a month behind from the last time.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Well, let's sign it so we get our cash.
So moved by Deputy Reid Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that council approves the agreement with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, for the distribution of Canada Community Building Funds for 2024 to 2034, which was previously known as the Federal Gas Tax Fund, and that council direct the Reeve clerk to sign the agreement attached to bylaw 4080-2024. All in favor? And that's carried. Reports of committee, moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council approve the minutes of the committee of full meeting of June 4th, 2024, and approve the recommendations contained within. All in favor? Not carried. No petitions, bylaws. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson that bylaw 4078-2024, being a bylaw to appoint a body operator, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 18th day of June, 2024. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll, that bylaw 4079-2024, being a bylaw to authorize the registration of a site plan agreement with Amam Telegrams and Dana Tepic, owners of 195 Old Orchard Road, Markham, Ontario. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 18th day of June, 2024. favor? I apologize if I said those names wrong. Moved by Deputy Reed Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas that bylaw 4080-2024 being a bylaw to authorize an agreement between the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the Corporation of the Township of Montague be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 18th day of June 2024. All in favor? And that's carried. We have no motion, notice of motion, no action items. So, any questions of our audience? And online? Moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that bylaw 4081-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 18th day of June 2024. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson. Council adjourned the regular meeting of June 18th, 2024. at 7 o'clock. Until August 6th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the call of the chair. All in favor? Thank you.
Welcome back to our committee of the whole meeting. So open the meeting with our land acknowledgement. Council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. So the adoption of agenda, so moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that the committee of the whole agenda dated June 18th, 2024 be approved as presented. All in favor? And we have no disclosures, no allegations, so we're just gonna go right to Mr. Hall about the quick update of the Birchville Road culvert.
Brooksville Road culvert, this is just a report of information, an update on where we're sitting with the replacement, coming replacement. So we should have full pricing for the culvert installation and supply of the culvert. We'll present at the August 6th meeting when we return from July break. So the plan was to move forward to secure supply. The plan was to move forward with a installation contract, prepared a RFQ for. So we'll put that out this week, which will close before the August 6th council meeting. We can go over those then. And a separate RFQ for for us to supply the culvert itself. So the lead time for a concrete culvert can be up to a month, so it's not going to be something we can do right away anyways. And the condition of the culvert since the last sinkhole has been pretty well stable. I think maybe since we put calcium on the road, it's kind of a little bit. So we'll be continue to monitor the culvert. When pricing comes back for the culvert supply, we'll be able to decide whether or not we want to concrete or steel culvert. And I think that the realistic timeline for replacement will probably be in September, which would probably be beneficial anyways because there should be very little water in there in September. So yeah, basically still waiting on formal prices. I have gotten some just rough quotes for some of the supply options. So, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit longer before we can get anything official. Yeah, that's basically just
It's a pretty quick update.
Yeah.
We're moving forward. You've gotten some like the pricing that the unofficial quotes on the numbers, but they seem like they're in the reasonable frame right now.
Yeah, I mean, concrete so far, what I've got, they're still waiting on one price. That hopefully be a bit lower, but it's more than what I expected. So I think right now it's kind of looking like it might be steel be the more reasonable option. But again, it depends on both the quotes for both the install and the supply. So.
I mean, getting the install price is that you just compare. You're just going to get for both anyways, right?
Yeah. So the plan is I made up an RFQ, so it's going to be an install with an option in the contract for either the install of the concrete pipe or the steel pipe. So after we get pricing, we can decide it'll be the same contract either way for the install.
Perfect. Sure. Report on August 6th kind of video. Yeah. The pricing will come down to this little there. So but hopefully it's in line with the budgetary numbers. So
yeah.
That's good. Okay. Any questions from council as far as that goes, as far as it's moving along? And we're pretty confident that's going to hold up. We're not going to have
Yeah, I don't think, like, we've been keeping an eye on it. I don't think it's shown really any issues since that most recent day when it opened up.
I drove over it 5 times a day, so.
Yeah.
I glanced down, I was going to say something.
Sure, wants to make sure that he doesn't get any holes. It's fine.
My pickup truck ends up in that creek.
Yeah. No, I'm not, I think in my opinion, I think it's it's not a huge, it's definitely not going to be an emergency situation. I think if anything were happening, it would be another small hole, which we would repair right away again, so.
Yeah, but the communication part of it too as well, I mean, even people that live on that road too.
Yeah.
Say like, it's, we're pricing it through and we're getting it done, so.
Yeah.
So I look forward to being done before winter and everything else, and then hopefully no matter what we choose, we'll live us all.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. So moved by Councilor, no more questions. Moved by Councilor Crabtree and seconded by Councilor Johnson, that council accept this report as information. And that the report with full costing will be presented on the August 6, 2024 regular meeting. For approval. And the only other one we have is the complex update.
Thank you, Chair. So again, this is an update to council before we recess for summer, just to give it, and the public, an update on kind of where we're at with the municipal complex. So March meeting was the last time you guys saw the class C estimate and pre-qualification, and we gave notice of the pre-qualification process. We received 8 pre-qualification submissions, 6 scored to meet the requirements to move on to the tender phase of the project. Tenders were placed on Bid and Go on June 6th. Invite. So of the 6, so we placed the full tender documents for the building on Bid and Go on June 6th, with invites going to the 6 pre-qualified contractors. And a mandatory site meeting was held here last Wednesday, and 5 of 6 qualified contractors attended and have provided a response to bid. So the tender phase closes on July 11th, with the intent to bring forward the pricing to council on August 6th. Again, this is just an update on the status and where we're sitting and kind of next steps before we recess for summer. No different than any of the other reports that we brought forward. As soon as there's numbers, we'll bring forward financial strategies and plans if we are to.
Thanks, Elliot. This is a great communication piece for us to see kind of where we're going. It's nice to see that we have moving forward, because it's feeling a couple of years ago, it was really hard to get one tender. So it's nice to see 5. So it's great communication. On that note, any questions from council on this update at all, or been through? Looks like August 6th is going to be a very exciting meeting. So make sure everybody tune in. So this is probably going to go on 6th. And on that note, so this will be moved by Councilor Johnson and seconded by Reeve Jennings. The council accepts the municipal complex project update information. All in favor? That was carried. No reports, no more petitions, no motions, and no unfinished business. Any burning questions from the audience or online? We do have a burning question from the audience.
When they do the culvert replacement on Birchill Road, will that interfere with the school buses, or will there still be able to get through? Like, well, shut the road down for a day or 2, or what?
Mr. Hall?
Yeah, so there will be a road closure, so that was the one thing, if we could get it done in August, that would be ideal, but realistically, it's gonna be a really easy detour, so I think as long as we can work with the school bus company, that we can still pick up anybody, if the school bus needs to turn around, make sure that they. So, there might be some, the closure will probably be a week. So.
It's a good question. I think it'd be a good point, and you've already thought about that as far as the communication to the school bus company to make sure that we have that out, which is great. So, any other questions? Nothing online from Grace. That's fantastic. I guess we moved by Reeve Jennings and seconded by Councilor Abbas. That we can give the whole meeting for June 18th, 2024. Now be adjourned at 7:14 p.m. All in favor? Accepted. Thank you, everyone. Like Reeve Jennings said, we are off for July, and make sure everybody tune back in for our exciting meeting on August the 6th. Thank you.